Hey guys, Grifton here, and today I want to talk about the wowhead post that came out, what it means, and what Warcraft logs are really trying to tell us as feral DPS. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? What are we gemming? Who are the top parsing people, and what are they doing? So let's just jump into this. This is a lot of data to talk about, so I want to just get started. So first, let's actually look at the post. So here's the post. Originally, it says Wrath of the Lich King Classic Phase 2 DPS Rankings Week 4 Ulduar. Now, the thing that I've been asked about and people have commented on is this post right here. This is the 95th percentile of damage to bosses, and Feral Druids are above balance. We're actually above Ret Paladins, Fury Warriors, anyone else? Beast Mastery Hunters, Marksmanship Hunters too, I guess. So we are up in towards like the middle area, so that's good, right? Well, this doesn't tell the whole picture. In fact, this one might be a better image to look at. This is the damage over damage from all bosses for the 99th percentile, and as you can see, we're much lower. But even this doesn't really paint a full picture. So let's take a step back even further and just pull up Warcraft logs. So here is the original chart that I showed you where feral druids are slightly out eking balanced druids. So first, what does this chart mean? This chart is actually a little deceptive because it says damage to bosses. Now what this actually means is the damage done directly to a boss in a boss fight. This does not account for adds or any other factors that might play in during a boss fight. Now, ferals, we are a kind of a single target pumper, so we tend to shine better if you only look at damage to bosses. However, it's not a true representation of fights because damage to adds should factor in because it for the most part, it requires damage to adds in order to complete the fight, and therefore it should matter. So this chart is what that is, but even this chart is missing a lot of things because it's grouping all bosses together, and some bosses are very caster friendly and some bosses have an advantage towards melee. So for instance, Ignis the Furnace Master. Now you may not know if you're not a caster, but from time to time the casters have to stop casting and the melee don't. Melee can just keep going. So in this case, you're going to see melee or the physical damage dealers move towards the top. In fact, the only class that's up here with the melee are the warlocks because they're broken, and you're going to see these three broken classes, DKs, warlocks, and rogues at the top at all times pretty much. So yes, we are up towards the top, not because we are ferals, but because we are melee, and melee have an advantage on Ignis. But if you look at another fight such as Hodir, a great example of how broken this is for casters, you can see all the casters are at the top. Even the assassination rogues get pushed down, and even the DKs get pushed down, and all the casters shine here. That's because this fight is kind of a caster, not even caster friendly. It's a caster centric fight. As the melee, your job should be helping to boost the casters. So yes, it's not surprising that ferals are way down here. If you look at something more even, XT might be a good example. Now, if XT is the fight that is like the basis, this might be the better chart to look at. I'm not saying it's the chart to look at because you could argue that the casters still have other jobs to do, and that pushes them down a little bit. But the XT fight is pretty straightforward. Kill the boss, kill the heart, kill the boss, kill the heart, or depending on which one you're doing. Regardless, right here, feral druids actually middle the pack. Now this is really interesting because feral druids, even on these fights, tended to be further down. So what's changing? And that's something to discuss, and that is worth discussing based on this chart. So I did want to stop here and look at some logs. So I pulled up, here are the XC deconstruct for all regions, all factions, for phase 2 done by damage. So first, let's get this out of the way. I want to show you that feral druids aren't all of a sudden like just these top crazy DPS. This is just druids mixed, and you can see that it's a very clean mix of balance and feral on this particular fight. So if you're like, oh, ferals own on XT, nah, probably not. If you're an absolute pumper and you're a balanced druid's an absolute pumper, it could be a coin flip. You know, some good RNG and things like that. But for this particular one, we're only gonna be looking at feral damage because I want to talk about what is feral damage looking like. So first, let's just look at, before we even get into the specifics, let's look at the top 5. I'm not going to go further. I'm sorry. It takes a long time. But I do want to point out a lot of them are still wearing Darkmoon card greatness. They have a mix still of the agility and the strength. So don't stress about which one you get. but you're starting to see Mjolnir Runestone pop up, which is absolutely amazing. And if you don't have Mjolnir, you're probably rocking Grim Toll. And if you do have a better thing, it's probably going to be Dark Matter and Mjolnir. This set is absolutely bonkers. There's a couple, and there's one in sixth position too. We're not going to get to it, but just so you know, this is the pattern. You know, Dark Moon card greatness is holding up. Mjolnir is popping up now, and if you can get your hands on Dark Matter too, that is an absolute amazing combo. Okay, so let's look at the top 5. I only have 4 opened up here. Let me see who I closed. There's Mom Day, J, Mur, and Rugs. Okay, so let me open up Selchi and move him to the back. Sorry, Selchi. Okay, so first let's talk about, let me switch to damage done, because we have to understand how they're doing their damage. I think this is important. Now, one of the things that did come up while I was trying to figure out what the numbers were like was the discussion of, and actually I'll switch back to the screen really quick to talk about this. This guy right here. This is Valentine's Day, and you can get 2 buffs right now. You can get the colognes or perfumes, whichever you prefer, and they increase attack power by 75. If you're a spellcaster, you get the 45 spell power increase. 75 attack power is quite a bit. On top of that, you can do the daily for, you pull it up. You can get 2 of these dailies. Lovely Darnassus card and lovely Ironforge card. That's the ones I use. If you're just doing DPS, it's lovely Darnassus card. I also tank, so I grab the Ironforge card too. But there's also an intellect one and a spirit one. Now the intellect one is still really good for casters, and so is the spirit, but they're not nearly as good as the agi one is for us. So even though everyone gets 2 buffs, the 2 buffs that we get are actually really beneficial to us. Is this a factor? I don't know, because they don't show up in Warcraft logs. So that may be a factor. It may not be. For now, just put a pin in it, because we don't know yet. We'll know in a couple weeks when the buff disappears, and we'll see where parses end up. All right, so let's get back to the logs though. So I took the top 5. It's pretty standard stuff. I take the top 5 people, and I go through them and see like what kind of damage they're doing, how are they doing it, what gear they're wearing, and kind of like the style of play. So first, let's talk about style of play. I like to look and see where they're at, and it looks like definitely they are bear weaving. In fact, I can also tell from here that they're probably using armor penetration, because their shred is so high. Usually that happens when your armor pen gets high enough that it starts to just absolutely dominate. So we have a bear weaver with likely armor pen. Let's actually take a look. Yeah, and we have armor pen. So for some reason, Warcraft logs shows armor pen is yellow, which I actually like, because it makes it really easy for me to spot armor pen people. But yeah, so a Jewel Crafter armor pen. They've got Seed of Budding Carnage, Fluxing Energy Coils, Dream Binder, Mjolnir. This is a really good armor pen set, absolute pumper. In fact, man, this is my dream set. I almost say, I'm sure he's missing something. Maybe one ring here. Geez, even these look good. Almost best in slot. This guy is absolutely pumping as a bear weaver. So yeah, definitely a great set. Memoron's flight goggles are crazy good. So yes, good set. But also Idol of Ravenous Beast. This is really important. If you're wearing Idol of Worship, don't freak out. It's still a really good idol. However, once you started gemming armor pen, you really want to boost your shred as much as possible, and Idol of the Ravenous Beast is a better idol for that. So just keep that in mind. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see that pattern throughout this whole thing. Okay, so DJ Drew 2, I really like your name. Let's look at their logs for XT. And again, if I didn't mention, we're doing XT because I think it's one of the cleanest, fairest hard modes that you can say, like where it's just, especially ferals, we just pump. But yeah, so here we see lacerate, so they're clearly bear weaving. I'm going to take a quick look because they're lacerate for that length of a fight. Okay, yeah. So they are just bear weaving. And it looks like, okay, so they've got Memoron's flight goggles, Seed of Budding Carnage. They're wearing the Conqueror's 4-piece. That's interesting. So I've talked about this before. The 4-piece is really good. But once you start getting full armor pen, you end up moving down to like the 2-piece tier 8 and not worrying about the 4-piece because the armor pen makes up for it. But this is still a really good set. Clearly, they're number 2 world at XT. But yeah, so you've got the stock skin belt. Wow, I bet he wants to upgrade that. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, the fluxing energy coil. So this looks like another armor pen set. Band of lights. This is the secondary armor pen ring. And you've got all these armor pen gems. You've probably got Dreambinder, yep, and Mjolnir. This is your pretty standard bear weave, very similar to the first one, in fact. I would say the first one's got a slightly better gear upgrade. His 252 numbers look a little bit better in the first one. Let me make sure. 252. I know it's cheesy to just look at that, but it makes it quick to decide. 252s, but he's got the Seed of Bloody Carnage. So does he. 252. Yeah, just a slight edge. And that's probably the difference between the two. So let's keep going. Oh, but Idol the Ravenous Beast again. Okay, so let's jump over to Ogimer. I don't know how to say it. Ogimer, whatever. I'm giving up. Okay, so this is a lacerate weave. Sorry, a bear weave, specifically lacerate weave. Ferocious biting 2. How many times do they ferocious bite? I am starting to find spots. There's 0 ferocious bites here. Scroll up. And 2 here. Okay, so people are starting to find ferocious bite spots. And then, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to jump past. So he is clearly bear weaving. And let's look at the summary here. Conqueror's helm. So he's wearing the 2-piece tier 8 with the Conquerors instead of Memorons. This is a really good. The Conquerors is absolutely amazing too. I think Memorons parses better, but still, Conquerors is great. Brooch the Wailing Knight probably wants to get that upgrade, but this does have an armor pen, really solid, and you can just buy this. Solar Bindings. This is actually the technically, I think this sims slightly better than the Fluxing, but it doesn't have armor pen, so it might slow you down on armor pen stacking if you're wearing Solar Bindings. Though if you've got Solar Bindings, I'd probably wear them. Ring of Invincibility and Surge Needle Ring. These are okay. These are from phase 1. He or she probably wants to upgrade these sooner rather than later. And they're wearing the 2-piece. Oh, this is actually a T7 T8 combo. That's interesting. So we've got the Valorous Dreamwalker shoulder pads and raiments, and the Conqueror's Night Song head and probably gloves. Yeah, okay. Really good tier 7, tier 8 split. This should tell you a lot that T7, T8, T8-4, and T8-2 with armor pen off pieces, they're all really close to each other. So if whatever you're running, whatever you feel comfortable with, you're probably fine. This guy's got Grim Toll instead of Mjolnir. This guy seems a little bit more under gear compared to the rest, which is interesting because you see a lot of 213 pieces, and they're started wearing Dark Moon Card Greatness. Great trinket, but they haven't replaced either of their trinkets yet. They haven't replaced either of their rings yet, and they're rocking the T7 2-piece as well. So this is a less geared person still performing really well. They have already started to armor pen gem, probably because they got the weapon. Yep, Dreambinder. And that with Grimtroll is probably enough to allow them to gem armor pen. That's how good Dreambinder is. That's how good, where are we at? Grimtoll is. On top of that, the Conqueror's helm, it actually does have armor pen. I think the chest does too. Let me see what the chests are wearing. The shoulders? Yeah, the shoulders for the Valorous Dreamwalker have armor pen. So you still see a lot of armor pen in the gear, and then Idol the Ravenous Beast for their armor pen set. So really interesting you're seeing. So of the top 3, we saw a T8 2-piece, a T8 4-piece, and now a T7 T8 combo. Okay, let's jump to the 4th guy, and that's Rugs. If you guys don't know Rugs, he does a lot of content on YouTube, but he is a non-bear weaver, at least in this particular fight. So he is only doing cat, but he is ferocious biting a lot more than everyone else. I bet that is a big factor. His shred is way up there. His melee is way up here. And I bet he's flower shifting. Let's take a look. Casts. Let's see. Yep, Gift to the Wild. So you might call this gift weaving, flower shifting, whatever you call it. He is doing it, getting his 6th Gift to the Wild to boost him up, to allow him to do the ferocious bites and things like that and have this crazy high melee. So it's really interesting to see the different strategies here. So we're seeing, obviously we saw the first 3 were all bear weavers. Now we're seeing a flower shifter. It'll be really interesting to see what the 5th guy is. But let's look at some gear. So we've got another Conqueror's Night Song. So he's wearing 2-piece tier 8. I'm just glancing at his gear. It looks like he's rocking just 2-piece. Okay, so there's another 2-piece tier 8. Oh, he's got the double trinkets. This is a really great set. Mjolnir, Runestone plus Dark Matter. This is what you want. This is like what I want, at least. You've got Dreambinder for sure. Shawl of the Shattered Giant. This is okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm surprised it doesn't have the general But he's got brand signet ring, a really good armor pen ring. He's wearing the old Surge Needle ring, fluxing energy coils. So this is very armor pen heavy. If we look over here, he does have some agi gems, but he looks like he's got a few armor pen. So either his gear is actually so well armor penned that he's actually only going half, which might be the case because he does have Mjolnir, Dreambinder. He's got the Conqueror's Night Song hand grips. He's got the Night Song head guard. He doesn't have the neck yet. But yeah, lots of armor pen, fluxing energy. He's got lots of armor pen, but his gems are a mix of armor pen and agi. So that's pretty interesting to see that. But again, he is power shifting, not power shifting. Oh my god, sorry. He is flower shifting or gift weaving, whatever you call it. So that is a different thing as a number 4 position on XT. All right, and now we're gonna look at. Oh, I forgot to select him. Selchi. So Selchi here is a Ferocious Bite 4. He's a Bear Weaver, but he is Ferocious Biting quite a bit. I'm curious. I wonder if because his shred's way up, so he's definitely armor penned. Based on this, I'm curious if he's flower shifting too. Because his last rates are way up. So yeah, this guy is actually doing both. So he is bear weaving and flower shifting in the same fight. Very interesting. I've actually seen this more and more where people are kind of basing their shift, like what shift they go to based on where their stats are at, like their status is at, I should say. I'm not sure if that's what played out here, but it looks like it because the Ferocious Bite is a little bit higher than you'd expect with a regular bear weave. But yeah, look at this, like great shred, great melee, great rip. And where's lacerate? Lacerate's a little low, which makes sense. Probably keeping low stacks, maybe just for the 2-piece. Let's see what his gear looks like. So we got Conquerors. So he's wearing the 4-piece tier 8, which means he's got that absolutely long Savage Roar, which makes sense, which might be able to fit the Ferocious Bites in. And he's doing the gift weaving and the berry weaving. Let's see what the rest of his gear looks like. So he's got Band of Draconic Guile. This is an armor pen ring and brand sealing ring, another armor pen ring. He doesn't have the upgraded Grim Toll to Mjolnir yet, but he does have Dreambinder. Winter's Frigid Embrace is really good. Waistguard of the Creator, Brooch of the Wailing Knight. This is the one you can buy. Honestly, decent ring or decent gear. He's got the Ruined Ironhide. This is actually a cool piece. A lot of people don't consider this BIS, but because of the armor pen, if you're missing armor pen, you want to make up for it, and this drops, you can grab this, and it's actually free armor pen. Yeah, you could be wearing the crafted ones, but if you're trying to armor pen cap, soft cap, and then he's got armor pen, gemmed, jewel crafting. Yeah, this is really solid set. Really solid. And this person's doing both bear weaving and flower shifting, and they're running Idol of the Ravenous Beast as expected because they are armor pen gemmed. Again, if you are not armor pen gemming, Idol of Worship's probably going to be stronger for you, and then once you start armor pen gemming, you'll want to switch to Idol of the Ravenous Beast, or unless you're idol swapping, and that's a whole different story. But yeah, guys, this is the top 5. They are absolute pumpers. Mom Day is the only one that broke 10,000 DPS so far in this fight, but I expect if I look at this in a couple weeks, you're going to see at least 5 or 6 more, all in the 10K range. Guys, if you have any questions about the original post, about what it means about the XT data and why I decided to break it down, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm wrong or if I missed something, which happens, don't worry about it. I'm fallible, I think is the right word. Let me know in the comments so I can do a better job next time. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, take care.